Are you interested in intermittent or extended fasting for weight loss? I'm talking about 1 meal a day or alternate day fasting. If so, then this is the episode for you. I'm going to be giving lots of tips and actions that you can start taking immediately to do longer and more powerful fasts. But before I get into it, a couple of disclaimers. I am not a medical professional, a physician or clinician of any kind. So if you need authorization from your medical provider to do fasting or any type of weight loss plan, please do so. Get that authorization. Also, trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about weight loss here. I'm going to be talking about fasting. So if you have a history of eating disorders, then this may not be the episode for you. Now, what I will be providing is a whole lot of value through the information I'll be sharing. And this is going to be a podcast type of episode, so you can listen on the go, whether you are in the car running errands or doing stuff around the house, so you can listen doing whatever it is you are doing. Now, I will be providing some actions that you can take at the end of the episode, so you can always go back to the end of the episode, and I'll try to put some of those action tasks in the notes as well, because I want to make sure that you leave this episode with some things that you can start implementing right away if you need to build that fasting muscle and to do longer fasts, or to start building your confidence and getting that mindset together to go into longer fasts. So with that, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So if you come to this episode, we're talking about more advanced fasting protocols. I hope that you have some knowledge of what intermittent fasting is, but I always like to give a refresher. So, base at it as it is at its most basic level, fasting is a periods of time where you are abstaining from food. You are choosing to abstain from food. You're not taking in any calories. And so that is going to be your fasting window. And then you will have that block of time where you're fasting. You will have the window of time, which is called your eating window usually. So it's a block of time where you are consuming your calories, you are having your meals. Now, fasting is not about telling you what to eat. It is about when you're eating. It is a pattern of eating. So it's not necessarily a diet. It's again, is when you are eating. It's a time restricted eating. So that is what fasting is, and to some extent, what it isn't. It isn't a diet. However, a lot of people who do fasting, they come to it for not only weight loss but maybe health reasons. So it is very helpful and beneficial at helping to manage blood sugar, because when you're fasting, you are not triggering a blood sugar response. Also, fasting is helping to with managing hormones when it comes to insulin, because of course if you're not then eating and having to manage blood sugar, then you won't have that insulin response as well. So that is just again foundational understanding of fasting. When it comes to eating, here's one thing I will say. To get the best results, I'm always going to suggest eating whole foods, doing something that may be lower carb if that is appealing to you, like focusing on protein and vegetables, something similar to more of a Mediterranean type of way of eating, because low carb and fasting do go hand in hand, because low carb does help to manage blood sugar. So when you're eating a lower carb type of nutrition, it does help to have easier fasts, but it's not necessary, especially with these advanced fasting protocols. When you get into doing like alternate day fasting, you have a bit more flexibility in what you eat and still can see pretty good results in terms of weight loss. So let's go into some of the fasting protocols. I've talked about what fasting is, some of the benefits, and why people come to fasting. So now I really want to get into some of the extended or advanced fasting protocols. So one which you may have heard of is OMAD, 1 meal a day. And I should say I want to highlight this point here too. If you are coming to advanced fasting, I'm hoping that you do have some experience doing other protocols like a 16-8, which is one of the more basic and easier fasting protocols, because it is more similar to the way that people eat. doing like a fasting 16 hours, eating 18 hours. But I hope that you've also tried some, maybe doing some 18-6, 18-hour fast, 6-hour eating window, even maybe a 20-hour fast, 4-hour eating window. If you haven't, I completely understand. I completely understand. I think it's really good to build that fasting muscle before you get into longer fasts. When I say build their fasting muscle, you want to think about fasting like you are in the gym. You are not going to the gym and lifting the heaviest weight. You're going to start off a little lighter. So same thing with fasting. You are not going to start with the longest fast. You want to start off with something more manageable. So that really helps you to understand how your body is going to respond to fasting. It helps you to deal with how you will manage head hunger, food noise. Helps you to gain a bit more awareness around your relationship with food, your hunger cues, when your fullness cues, when maybe you are triggered to eat and is it out of boredom or just out of maybe if you're an emotional eater. So there's a lot that you can be gained if you start with some of the lighter protocols before you come to the advanced protocols. But like I said, I completely understand, and from personal experience, I understand starting fresh with a more advanced fasting protocol because I have, jumped into doing alternate day fasting or doing extended water fast from just eating normally. So if you do that, be safe, be safe. Make sure that you have, clearance from your medical provider, that you are in good enough health to do it. Just make sure you be safe with any fasting that you are doing. So, with that, let's go ahead and get into some of these protocols. And so, I'm going to start with OMAD. So, that is 1 meal a day. And with 1 meal a day, you're generally going to eat within like a 2 to 3 hour time period. 2 hours, 3 hours if you're being very generous. And so it sounds like it is. You are, and I'm going to start with an example. If you say you start on a Sunday and Sunday at 6 p.m. starts your fast, then you don't eat again to maybe 5 o'clock. You can fast maybe 22 to 23 hours. You don't eat again to maybe 5 o'clock Monday. Say you eat 5 o'clock Monday, you don't eat again until Tuesday, maybe at 5, maybe you do eat at 4. So you're always getting around this 22 to 24-hour fast. And then when you eat, you're eating most of your meal in that one sitting or in that hour or so. There's and different people kind of play. You have some different rules for themselves. I know I've heard of some people saying they eat their meal within 30 minutes, and that's it because some people are mindful that you still in an hour's time. If you are not thoughtful about what you're eating, you can do a lot of damage. Now, like I already covered, fasting is not telling you what to eat, it's not counting calories, it's none of that. However, what naturally starts to happen when you have narrower windows, you guys are following, right? I know I didn't say that word right, but when you have a narrow window of time in which you're eating, it naturally happens that you're reducing calories. However, there is that ability, especially even with doing 1 meal a day, to eat more than maybe you should if you're not being thoughtful about it. And also, you're eating 1 meal a day, so you want to make sure that you have pretty good nutrition and taking in a good amount of protein, fiber, healthy fats, all of the things. However, again, this is not telling you what to eat. I know, and I've seen people eat OMAD 1 meal a day, and they pretty much in that 1 meal they're eating what they want. So that is what I would call one of the first advanced fasting protocols, because that is when you are now fasting 24 hours or close to 24 hours. Now let's get into some of the extended fasting protocols. And so extended fasting, for the purposes of how with the information I'm sharing it, is fasting anywhere from 24 or more hours. So, one of the first plans that I learned about as I started researching fasting many, many years ago, so probably almost 10 years ago, was Eat, Stop, Eat by Brad, and I'm going to spell his last name Pilon. I think it is pronounced Pilon. And so, Eat, Stop, Eat is something you would do 2 times. I think in the materials I read, it was max maybe 3 times, but it is where you would fast for 24 hours. So you would fast for 24 hours. And so let's just say you were starting and you were going to start your fast on a Monday. So you would fast from dinner on Monday to dinner on Tuesday, eat normally, and then you would start again from dinner on Wednesday up until dinner on Thursday. And so each time, if you're doing it those 2 days a week, you're fasting 24 hours. And that is a way to naturally manage and reduce calories because you have 2 times within the week where you are abstaining from calories, you're not eating at all, right? And so one thing I should have mentioned from the onset is that for all when you are fasting, during your fasting window, those things that you want to have, water, coffee, tea, and doing these extended type of fasts, even if you are really active and you're doing 24-hour fasting or OMAD, you want to include some electrolytes. I will link the electrolytes that I use. I don't have a relationship with them, but this is a good electrolyte I've been using for over the last year, and I have tried plenty of electrolytes during my time of fasting over the last 10 years or so. So you also may want to incorporate electrolytes during longer fasts, but during your fasting window, it's water, coffee, tea. Water, coffee, tea. So going back to Eat, Stop, Eat, um, there were you would again Monday you would eat normally. You stop eating at 6. All day Tuesday you are not eating. That's your stop time. Your eat time will resume at dinner on Tuesday at 6. So just these 24-hour periods of really a dinner to dinner of not eating. If you would, especially if you're going to fast 2 days a week, and let's just say those 2 days are going to be Tuesday and Thursday. That's the example I'm providing. So ESOP 8, one of the first protocols that I tried. And you can do more research on it. And I think it is an approachable way to start implementing some longer fasts because you still are eating every day. You ate on Monday, you're going to eat on Tuesday, you're just waiting to dinner to do it, and you have a period of time where you're not eating for 24 hours. So I think if you are starting with this, that is a pretty approachable way to start doing longer fasts. And then from Eat, Stop, Eat, another protocol that in my research when I started this several years ago, I learned of 5-2. And so 5-2, I'm remembering the person's name. I watched a documentary by Dr. Michael Mosley. And he's a doctor. He documents kind of his experience where I believe he created the 5-2 method. And if he didn't create it, he definitely has something to do with making it popular. And so 5-2 is where you eat normally 5 days a week, and then 2 days a week you're going to fast. So it's very similar to Eat, Stop, Eat. But in those 2 days a week that you're fasting, you can have up to a 500 calorie crutch. And it doesn't say what you should have in that 500 calories. It's just you can have up to this 500 calorie crutch on those fasting days. And I'm going to also bring up that crutch again when I talk about alternate day fasting. So now I've covered 1 meal a day, which is you're going to fast anywhere from 22, maybe 24 hours as you are having one meal every day. because you only got one shot at it every day and only 7 meals in a week if you are following strict OMAD protocol. Some days, some people do it a few times a week. Some people choose to get into OMAD and do it every day. So I've covered OMAD. I've covered eat, stop, eat, stop, eat. 2 days a week, you're going to fast for 24-hour time period. And now I'm covered 5 days a week. You eat normally 2 days a week. You are going to fast, and you can have up to a 500 calorie crutch, which you can have throughout the day. You can have it how you want it, but you would just make sure that if you have that crutch, it's only 500 calories. So now let's get into one of my favorites, alternate day fasting. So I did alternate day fasting on and off for over the last year or so, starting in June of 2024. But that wasn't my first experience with alternate day fasting. So over the years, I've definitely had some success with alternate day fasting because it does have a lot of flexibility. And again, with alternate day fasting, you are usually people come to alternate day fasting from a standpoint of they're fasting for 36 hours. I've done it where I've fasted up to 44 hours. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I'm just being transparent here. And I'll talk a little bit about why I don't necessarily recommend those really longer 44 or 48 hour fast. And it's more with safety and not having the opposite effect of what you want. But I'll get to that point. So with alternate day fasting, it is exactly how it sounds. You're eating one day, you eat, the next day you don't. So you can do true ADF, or you can do ADF where you do like through the Monday through Friday you do ADF, and I call that like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday fasting. So if you start your fast at 8 on Sunday night, you fast all day Monday. The next time you will be eating is 8 a.m. on Tuesday. And so then you would eat for a 12-hour time period. And then, so that would be 8 a.m. on Tuesday to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. And then at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, again, you start your fast. You fast all day. On Wednesday, I think I've got this right, you guys. I may have confused myself. You're going to fast all day Monday. You resume eating 8 a.m. on Tuesday. So you fast until 8 p.m. Tuesday night. So 8 p.m. Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, and then you resume eating at 8 a.m. on Thursday. I hope you follow. So, but that would be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday fasting through the week. I think that again is a more approachable way to get into alternate day fasting, because you also then have the weekend where you're going to be, pretty much eating normally. I'll talk a little bit about some suggestions around eating during ADF as well. And then there's the true ADF. That means every other day, no fail, you are fasting. So Monday if Monday you're fasting, Tuesday you're eating, Wednesday you're fasting, Thursday you're eating, Friday you're fasting, then Friday you're fasting, Saturday you're eating, Sunday you're fasting, Monday you're eating. So it is a true alternate day fasting schedule, and still using the concept of you are going to fast 36 hours, you'll eat for 12 hours. So let's talk about fasting window. Again, the fasting window is the same for every fast. Except for 5-2, where you can have the crutch. Fasting window is having water, coffee, tea. That's it. Water, coffee, tea, electrolytes, especially with alternate day fasting, especially. And I'm going to put this out there I'm a woman of a certain age, especially for us women who are in our 40s. Definitely incorporating some electrolytes is really helpful in that process. Another person am going to suggest you, if you're really interested in alternate day fasting, suggest you listen to some of her content, maybe even get her book, is Megan Ramos. Megan Ramos. And I'll put a link to one of her, the podcast she has been on in the below. So, with ADF, you can, again, I absolutely suggest you eat whole foods. You can eat normally on your eating days, maybe eating twice a day. Like that's when I first started doing ADF. This most recently, I would just eat twice a day, and then might have like a heavy snack or something like that in between. Or you can eat 3 times a day. A lot of people, because ADF is such a flexible plan in that if you don't eat like according to some type of even plan where you're eating really nutritious, and I would say food that is usually in alignment with weight loss, maybe even when I focusing on lean proteins and veggies, which is what I choose to do. Even if you kind of are eating what you want, a lot of people still experience a lot of success with ADF, even doing it that way. So, something else you can do with alternate day fasting, the same type of crutch that I had mentioned doing 5-2, some people do incorporate it when they will do alternate day fasting. You can choose to come to alternate day fasting and incorporate that 500 calorie crutch each fasting day, but I also know that people do it just kind of when they need it as well. So I've covered several intermittent fasting and extended fasting protocols. I hope this information has been helpful. Here are some of the actions that you can take so that you can begin doing longer fasts, building up your fasting muscle. One thing is, if you already are familiar with fasting, a lot of this is going to be mindset. So you're going to have to really deal with your confidence and knowing that you can do longer fasts. A couple of tricks I've used is start with doing a fast and maybe incorporating that 500 calorie crutch, maybe doing maybe a couple of protein shakes during that fasting time, or some bone broth. I've done that. And to do it for a week or two where you use that as a crutch before you do no food, water, coffee, tea. So that's one way to start to deal with mindset, start to build your confidence that you can do more of these extended fasting days. Another thing is to start off with those 24-hour fasts. So I was starting with eat, stop, eat, because again, each day you're eating, so you just are doing those 24-hour fasts. So you can then really build your confidence. So because this deals with a lot of strategy, mindset, and some intention around building your confidence, I would say your first action is to choose a fast, starting off with a fast for a few weeks, maybe I would say 2 weeks or more, that you feel that you can handle. So whether that be eat, stop, eat, or 5-2, kind of start off with those fasts where you may be able to have a crutch for a while, and then transition to where you don't have a crutch. So that is your first action item. Choose that fast. I've given you a lot of thought around how to choose that fast. So the other is, when you do choose a fast, start to understand the times you will be eating. And I would do that because, say for example, I'm doing eat, stop, eat. If I know I stopped eating at 6 on Monday, I really want to be thoughtful to go ahead and eat at 6 on Tuesday, just because when you're starting, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're pushing your fasting, pushing that fast, and then you end up binging. So be thoughtful about, okay, I know I'm going to eat around this time. You also may want to specify a period of time that you're going to try this. Trying it for 2 weeks, 14 days, trying it for 30 days. I recommend with longer fasts, maybe because they are longer fasts, I would recommend say 2 weeks. Say 2 weeks sticking with one. but in totality saying I'm at least going to give this long, doing extended fasting 30 days just to see, because you want to get more information, data on how your body is responding. A lot of this is about how your body is responding. So start selecting that time period, the time period that you will dedicate to doing this. um, and so I'm going to end with that. I mean, I think that gives you enough to work with. I would also suggest that you get an electrolyte. Like I said, I will link the one that I take below. That you focus on whole foods as much as possible and cooking your food as much as possible, because if nothing else, cooking your food will help you know what, at least what you're eating, and can be better ingredients. Even if you're eating stuff like a burger and fry, if you make it yourself, it's probably better than what you're going to get through going through the drive through. So that is it. I hope that this has provided a lot of valuable information to you. My name is Nikki Harper. I am a wellness coach. I work with women who are overwhelmed and overweight, helping them to prioritize themselves and to begin to lose weight. I'm going to put some information for you at the bottom. It will be a link to a free guide that may be helpful to you, a link to my Facebook group where I am providing more support, and where you all can share information with a group of women who are like-minded and on a weight loss journey. And then, if you are somebody who you want a step by step plan, you want accountability, you want that support and somebody to hold your hand through this process, and you're truly interested in coaching, I have a link that you can schedule some time with me. And with that, I am going to leave you with this. It's not about being nice, it's about being kind. And you got to be kind to yourself before you're kind to anyone else.